There's something terrifying that happens when a narcissist realizes they can't break you anymore. It's not what you think. They don't just walk away. They don't simply move on to easier prey. No, they save their most devastating weapon for last. And if you don't see it coming, years of healing can crumble in weeks. Carl Jung discovered this dark truth about narcissists. A final manipulation so sinister, so perfectly timed, that even the strongest survivors fall for it. But here's the thing. Once you understand this trick, you'll never be fooled again. So what exactly happens when you become too strong for a narcissist to control? Picture this. You've done the work. You've set boundaries. You've stopped seeking their approval. You've found your voice. And suddenly, something shifts. The narcissist feels it. Like a predator sensing their prey has grown claws. Carl Jung called this the power inversion crisis. It's the moment when the psychological balance tips. When you stop being their source of supply. When you become dangerous. But here's what Jung discovered that will shock you. The narcissist's greatest fear isn't rejection. It's not abandonment. It's not even exposure. Their greatest fear: are you becoming psychologically stronger than they are? Think about it. For months, maybe years, you were their perfect victim. Confused, seeking validation, desperate for their approval. You were their psychological supply, their validation machine. But healing changes everything. When you start trusting your own instincts, when you stop doubting yourself, when you begin standing in your own power, you become a threat to their entire identity. And that's when they deploy the weapon Jung warned us about. Jung discovered that narcissists don't just randomly lash out when they lose control. Oh no, they follow a calculated pattern. 3 stages of psychological warfare designed to drag you back into their web. Stage 1. Strength shaming. Remember how they used to criticize your weaknesses, your insecurities, your flaws? Well, now they flip the script entirely. They target your newfound strength itself. You've changed, they'll say, and not in a good way. You used to be so caring. Now you're just selfish. Success has really gone to your head. You think you're better than everyone now. But here's the part that will make your blood run cold. This isn't random criticism. According to Jung's analysis, they're specifically targeting the parts of yourself you're most proud of healing. Set boundaries. They'll call you cold. Found your voice. They'll call you aggressive. Build confidence. They'll call you arrogant. Jung called this strength shaming. It's designed to make you ashamed of the very qualities that set you free. The qualities that threaten their control. Most people crumble at this stage. They think, maybe I have changed for the worse. Maybe I am being too harsh. And slowly, they start dimming their light again. But if you don't fall for stage 1, they escalate. Stage 2. Nostalgic manipulation. This is where things get truly manipulative. When strength shaming doesn't work, narcissists deploy what Jung termed nostalgic manipulation. They start reminiscing about the old you, the version of yourself that was easier to control. Remember when you used to laugh at my jokes? You were so much happier before you started reading all those self-help books. I miss the person you used to be. We had such a good relationship before you changed. Jung called this psychological time travel. It's designed to pull you back into old patterns, to make you nostalgic for your own imprisonment. And here's the twisted part. They're not missing the real you. They're missing the controllable you, the version of yourself that existed for their convenience. But if you're strong enough to resist the nostalgia trip, if you don't fall for their selective memory, they bring out their most dangerous weapon. Stage 3. The final dirty trick. This is where Jung's research gets truly disturbing. When both strength-shaming and nostalgic manipulation fail, narcissists deploy their most calculated manipulation, manufactured vulnerability. Suddenly, right when you're at your strongest, they become fragile, struggling, going through the hardest time of their life, a health scare, financial trouble, family drama, emotional breakdown, and the timing. It's no coincidence. Jung discovered that narcissists keep detailed mental notes about what makes you feel guilty, what triggers your caretaking instincts, what causes you to abandon your boundaries. They weaponize your empathy against your healing. Here's what makes this manipulation so insidious. The crisis might be real. They might genuinely be struggling. But Jung discovered something chilling about how narcissists operate. They're experts at choosing which crisis to share with you. And when. They have other people they could call, other resources they could use. But they come to you because they know you're the one most likely to sacrifice your boundaries to help them. And here's the part that will make you question everything you thought you knew about them. Jung said that narcissists will often manufacture these crises by creating the very problems they're asking you to help them solve. They'll sabotage their own relationships, their work, their health, anything to create a situation where you feel obligated to step in and save them. Why? Because it serves two purposes. It pulls you back into the caretaker role, and it proves to them that they still have power over you. But Jung discovered something even more chilling about this manipulation. They don't just want your help. They want you to sacrifice your newfound strength to give it to them. I know you don't usually lend money, but this is different. I know you said you needed space, but I really need you right now. I know you're trying to focus on yourself, but couldn't you just help me this once? Every just this once is designed to break down the psychological barriers you've built. They're not asking for help. They're asking you to prove that they still matter more than your own well-being. And if you fall for it, Jung warned you'll lose everything you've worked for. But why does this final trick work so well? Why do even the strongest survivors fall for manufactured vulnerability? Jung discovered it's because it feels so authentic, so urgent, so necessary. The narcissist might genuinely be in crisis, but they're experts at timing, at the presentation, at knowing exactly which buttons to push. They know you've worked hard to heal. They know you're proud of your growth. And they know that your empathy, your caring nature, is both your greatest strength and your greatest vulnerability. So they create a situation where helping them feels like the right thing to do, the moral thing to do, the compassionate thing to do. But here's what Jung wants you to understand. True compassion doesn't require you to sacrifice your well-being. Real love doesn't demand you abandon your boundaries. What they're asking for isn't help. It's surrender. Let's talk about what happens when you fall for this final manipulation, because the cost is higher than you might think. First, you lose trust in yourself. You start questioning your instincts again. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe they really did need me. Second, you lose momentum in your healing. All that progress you made, the boundaries you set, the strength you built, it starts to erode. Third, you send a message to the narcissist that they still have power over you, that in a crisis, you'll still choose them over yourself. But here's the part that's most devastating. You start to believe that your strength was the problem, that your boundaries were too rigid, that your healing was selfish, and slowly, you begin to shrink yourself again, to make room for their needs, to accommodate their crises, to return to being their supply. Jung called this psychological regression. It's when someone voluntarily returns to old patterns because the new ones feel too difficult to maintain. But why do narcissists fight so hard to pull you back down? Jung's research reveals something profound about their psychology. Narcissists fear your strength because it reminds them of their own potential for growth, potential they've abandoned in favor of control and manipulation. When you refuse to shrink yourself to make them comfortable, you're not just setting a boundary, you're showing them what's possible when someone chooses authenticity over approval. And that terrifies them. Because deep down, beneath all the manipulation and control, they know they've chosen the easier path, the path of taking from others instead of building themselves up. Your strength is a mirror. It reflects back to them what they could have become if they'd chosen differently. So they fight to extinguish your light, not because they hate you, but because they hate what you represent. So how do you protect yourself from this sophisticated manipulation? Jung's research provides the answer. Understand differentiated compassion. You can feel empathy for someone's struggles without feeling responsible for solving them. You can care about their pain without sacrificing your peace. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." When a narcissist tries to pull you back into old patterns, even through crisis, ask yourself, is helping them helping me become who I truly am? Or is it preventing me from that journey? Recognize the pattern. Once you know what to look for, manufactured vulnerability becomes obvious. The timing is too perfect. The request is too specific. The guilt is too intense. Real crises don't come with manipulation tactics. They don't include boundary testing requests. They don't require you to prove your love through sacrifice. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. If you feel manipulated, you probably are. If you feel like you're being tested, you probably are. Your gut knows the difference between someone who needs help and someone who's weaponizing their need for help. Maintain your boundaries. This is the hardest part, because maintaining boundaries during someone's crisis feels cruel. But Jung discovered something important. Your boundaries aren't about punishing them. They're about protecting the person you've worked so hard to become. Remember your why. Why did you start healing in the first place? What drove you to set boundaries? What made you realize you deserved better? That reason is still valid, even during their crisis, even when they're struggling, even when they need you. Your healing isn't conditional on their stability. Jung believed that the narcissist's final manipulation is actually a test. Not a test they're giving you, but a test life is giving you. It's asking, how committed are you to your own growth? Will you abandon your progress for temporary peace? Will you sacrifice your future for their present? Every time you resist their manipulation, every time you maintain your boundaries despite their manufactured crisis, you're not just protecting yourself, You're proving that their power over you was always an illusion. And here's what Jung wants you to remember. True strength isn't about being immune to manipulation. It's about recognizing it, naming it, and choosing your authentic self anyway. Because here's the beautiful truth that Jung discovered. The moment you stop being controllable is the moment you truly begin living. When you can watch their final desperate attempt to reclaim control and feel nothing. When you can see their manufactured crisis for what it is and choose yourself anyway. When you can maintain your boundaries even when they're pulling out all the stops. That's when you know you're free. Their desperation to control you is just proof of how powerful you've already become. Their need to manipulate you is actually evidence of your freedom. The narcissist's final dirty trick only works if you forget who you are. But once you see it for what it is, a last desperate attempt to reclaim control, you realize something profound. You were never theirs to control in the first place. So what happens after you successfully resist their final manipulation? What comes next? Freedom. Real freedom. Not the kind where you're constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for their next move. Not the kind where you're tiptoeing around their moods and needs. The kind where you trust yourself completely. Where you know that no matter what crisis they manufacture, what guilt they try to trigger, what manipulation they deploy, you'll choose yourself. Because you've finally learned the lesson Jung spent his lifetime teaching. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And no manufactured crisis, no matter how convincing, is worth trading that freedom away. The narcissist's final dirty trick isn't really about them at all. It's about you. About whether you'll honor the person you've worked so hard to become. Choose yourself. Choose your healing. Choose your freedom. Because once you do, their power over you disappears forever. And that terrifies them more than anything else ever could. Hit that like button if you found value in today's exploration. Drop a comment below and share your experience. Your story could be the breakthrough someone else needs to hear. Subscribe and ring that notification bell because healing is a journey. And I'm here to walk alongside you every step of the way.